All right, good afternoon, and welcome to this quarter's webinar entitled The One Touch Rule. I am already sure that the poll questions in and of themselves have already challenged your thinking to a certain degree, and that is what this webinar and everything that Discover Leadership Training is really all about. It's challenging your thinking and giving you an opportunity to authenticate the things that you say you believe are true and begin to truly living a purposeful life as it relates to those particular things. I certainly want to take a moment to welcome individuals who are not graduates of Discover Leadership programs who are participating in this webinar. If you are a first timer to this webinar, certainly want to take an opportunity to acknowledge you and thank you for being here. Those of you that are regulars on our webinar segments or graduates of our program, I certainly want to encourage you and thank you for continuing for looking for ways to create a better version of yourself, realizing that there is absolutely nothing wrong with you or anything broken, that this is an opportunity with our understanding that we all occupy the largest room in a house, and that's a room for improvement, to continually look for ways to become a better version of yourself, a smoking hot version of yourself. So once again, welcome to this quarter's webinar entitled The One Touch Rule. So I really want to take an opportunity, first of all, to talk about the outcome of this particular webinar. Everything that we do here at Discover Leadership Training is outcome focused. It allows us to know exactly what it is that we are focused on. One of the acronyms that we use in our program is WAYFO, W-A-Y-F-O, and that is an acronym that stands for What Are You Focused On? And as soon as we know exactly what we're focused on, we know exactly what is appropriate or inappropriate in the context of our behavior and our choices. And I want to talk a lot about that during this webinar, because once you truly understand that, your life will be transformed forever. So the outcome for this particular webinar is to learn the true value of being in the moment. So once again, our outcome is to learn the true value of being in the moment. Now, the benefits from setting that outcome are the things that are going to drive us. It is the energy behind why we would be making the choices that we would be making as it relates to that outcome. And our first benefit that we are going to submit that is available to you as a result of setting and focusing on that particular outcome would be to make the choice to do what we refer to as TAN. Again, another acronym, and we're really popular for our acronyms at Discover Leadership Training. And TAN means to take action now. In this moment, to take action now. The second potential benefit that you will receive from setting that outcome for yourself would be to live a deliberately purposeful life. The third outcome is to increase your energy level, or what we refer to as your vitality level. The third one would be to accomplish more in a shorter period of time. What we like to refer to here at Discover, speeding up the transaction. And lastly, to live a life without laziness or procrastination. So those are the 5 potential benefits that you will receive just from taking the time out of your incredibly busy life to spend 1 hour on this webinar and having an awakening or becoming aware of some things that you may be unaware of prior to this particular opportunity. So, first of all, this is my favorite word in the entire language. And the reason why it's my favorite word is because once we have set an outcome, it then contextualizes everything that follows. So once we set an outcome and we contextualize it, It places something in a context or characterizes it as appropriate or inappropriate, applicable or not applicable. We know now what the difference between positive and negative is in the context of this outcome. We know whether or not it is good or bad. We know whether or not it is appropriate or inappropriate. Now, we really got to connect here, and then I want to kind of click in and listen to you because from my understanding, there are over 150 people on this webinar, and I want to be able to hear your thoughts and understand that what you are getting from this, what you're hearing and what you are receiving from this webinar is the most important thing to me in the context of this conversation, because there are two ways for you to truly benefit from this webinar in a very special way. The first one is to participate. When the opportunity comes, really want to take an opportunity to hear your thoughts. Want you to participate at a high level during this very brief time that we will be speaking on the subject of the one-touch rule. The second most beneficial way for you to truly benefit from this webinar is through self-examination. So utilizing the information and the awakening, the awarenesses that you will receive during this webinar to truly take a look at yourself, to truly wipe the smoke off the mirror, making a clearer picture for you to see you as it relates to the information that we will be sharing with you over the course of the next few moments. So once again, to put this into context, the outcome that we are focused on is the one that we stated a moment ago. Now that contextualizes what's appropriate or inappropriate for the next 40 minutes or so, and what's good or what's bad and what's positive and what's negative. We've put it into context. And we're going to talk a lot about contextualizing throughout this webinar so that you can truly see the value of setting an outcome. And I promise you that those of you that have had our training or have been a part of anything that we've done, once you really get that outcome-focused, benefit-driven piece of what it is that we're focused on here, I can absolutely guarantee you with certainty your life will be transformed forever. Okay, so first of all, many of us have heard it said that time is money. In the context of this conversation, we will submit that time is definitely money. It is currency. But in the context of this conversation, the currency that we are talking about is every moment of the day that you get the opportunity to truly connect to the choices and the behaviors that you are demonstrating in every moment. Now, there has to be an awareness as it relates to your personal currency. Every time we spend our currency on something, it will bring a return. That return is either going to be positive or it is going to be negative based upon what our expectations are based upon what our specific outcome is. So I want you to catch what I just said now, because it's going to be important for you to be able to distinguish and differentiate between the two. If we are managing ourselves and others, if we are managing situations and we have not set an outcome, then we are managing those things and those people and even ourselves based upon our expectations. So let's take a moment to talk about where those expectations would come from. Now, if you're living truly in the universal paradigm, and I like to call it the universal human paradigm because there are others, then what you can recognize is that we have been taught how we should be and how we shouldn't be. We've been taught what is right and what is wrong. We've been taught what is positive and what is negative. We have been taught what is appropriate or inappropriate. So if we are living simply based upon the paradigm, then we are living based on our expectations that things are supposed to turn out a certain way based upon the paradigm. If we recontextualize the paradigm, we did that as a result of setting a very specific outcome. Now that outcome has now contextualized right or wrong, good or bad, positive or negative, appropriate or inappropriate. So I just want you to stick with me now. We're going to get to more examples and explanation and an opportunity to hear from you as it relates to this. But first of all, we have got to set up the opportunity, understanding that you have currency that you are spending every day. And that currency is being spent in the moment as it relates to the choices that you are making. So, what I want you to really get here is that in the context of this conversation, there is no rich and there is no poor. All of us are receiving the same amount of currency to spend every day. How you are spending it is bringing a very specific return, and when that return comes, that return is directly related to how you spent the currency. Excuse me. So this is what I want to do now. I want to get an opportunity to kind of chime in here and hear some of y'all's voices, because again, one of the greatest benefits is going to be from listening to some of the comments and things that you folks have as well. So, what do you think about every second of the day? That's a question that I want you to ask yourself, because whatever you're thinking about every second of the day as it relates to the job that you're presently in or the relationship that you're in, it is creating behaviors. Those choices have actions that follow them, and those actions are doing one of two things. It is either creating a win-lose situation, or it's creating a win-win situation. In the win-lose situation, it is when you are spending your currency in other ways to get benefits of being in a relationship or being in a job that's not directly related to the job or the relationship. And again, I'm going to give you some examples in a moment, but I want to hear from you first. So I want to say that again so we can connect. If you can connect to how you are spending your currency at your job. So if I really like this job, I'm very likely spending all of my currency doing the things in the job that are bringing me a return that says that I'm happy with the job, that I'm pleased with the job, that I'm being enriched by the job. If I am in a job that I do not like, in a relationship that I do not like, then I am spending my currency in other ways that are allowing me to be there, but not truly be there. So this is what I want to do. I know that I put a little bit out there. I just want to at least kind of start hearing some of y'all's voices, because I love the experiential nature of what we do here, and I want to start connecting to some of the energy of the folks on the call. So if you would be willing to just pop in real quickly and offer your initial thoughts about what you've heard from the poll questions up until now, then I would like for you to go to the My Mood button and push the thumbs up. And basically what we will do is bring you in and hear a quick comment or two from you as it relates to what you've heard so far or what you've received so far from the webinar. Okay, got a couple of y'all. So let's see. Let's go to Yolanda Areola calling in from El Paso. We're going to unmute you, Yolanda. Okay, she's going to have to. Okay, can you unmute her? Okay, Yolanda, can you star 6 or go to the top of the screen and click the phone button up top? Okay, so we're not there. How about you, Rachel Becker? Can you unmute yourself and come in here? Just click on the microphone or the telephone at the top of your.
Hi, Mike.
Okay, Rachel. Hey, Rachel. Why don't you share with us your thoughts real quickly?
Sure. So I will admit that when I started this webinar with you, I was trying to multitask and do my job at the same time I was listening and watching, and realized about 5 minutes in, I got to make a choice, and which one is more important to me.
Beautiful. You know what? That's a perfect example of that, Rachel. Thank you for sharing. I guarantee you somebody else benefited from that. We're going to mute you back. How about you, Justin McBride? I think he's coming in from Salt Lake City, Utah. We're going to unmute you, Justin. Would you share with us your thoughts real quickly, sir?
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
For me, I'm kind of the same way as Rachel. I was multitasking and eating lunch and doing other things, and again made the choice of what's more important to me. and I think that's something that we do every day. And just having that put into context for me really helped me out.
Thank you very much, Justin. And we're going to put you back on mute. We want to hear from one more person. How about John Gilmore calling in from Los Angeles? John, we just brought you in, sir. Share with us your thoughts real quickly here.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
I'm awesome, man.
Hey, listen, I was thinking about when you were talking, and, it just reminded me how quickly my focus can change throughout the day, and how I keep on having to come back to, focus on that outcome that I started the day off with at the beginning and not get distracted throughout the day.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so I want to add a couple more logs to the fire here, and then I'm going to certainly be looking forward to hearing from a couple of more of you. I would suggest to every last one of you that it is important in every given moment. So we have 86,400 seconds in every day. The choice that you are making in every one of those seconds, the compilation of those choices are creating the reality that you are experiencing by the end of that day. In those 86,400 seconds, you are spending your personal currency in ways that will either benefit you or not benefit you. So here's a big log that I want to throw on the fire as we get into this webinar. If you are in a job, in a position at that job, if you are in a relationship that you are not 100 committed to giving 100% of your currency, then what I am saying to you is you are in a win-lose proposition, because in order to not spend 100% of your currency, focus on a positive outcome in that particular area, means that you're taking from that area and giving to something else. That something else that you may be giving to may be allowing you to tolerate where you are. However, be awakened to the fact in this present moment that you are creating a win-lose proposition, because you are taking currency away from one situation that requires you to be there 100% in order to either benefit or give the benefit to that particular situation or that person. Now, every time we create the win-lose situation, it simply means that we are getting a return on our currency from an area that we are not truly committed to. Because to split that currency basically says in that moment that I am not truly committed to either of these things. So there is no way for me to optimize what I am giving to any of them, which now makes it a lose-lose situation. So what I'm going to encourage you as we go through this webinar is to truly become aware of what it means to be in the moment, recognizing that the choice that I am making in this section, in this particular second, is going to bring a very specific return by the time I get to the end of this day. And if I can look at how those choices are trending, then I know whether or not I am spending the currency in a way that is going to benefit me and benefit others. So 86,400 seconds a day is what's available to us. And in every one of those seconds, when we make a choice, we are creating the compilation of choices and thoughts that are ultimately going to produce the outcomes that we're going to be facing at the end of the day. So this is what I want to say to you. When you truly know and understand the true value of how you are spending your currency, you will seize and enjoy every moment of it. Now, let's talk about that for a moment. Then I want to bring some of y'all in here to listen to you. When we are not spending 100% of our currency on being where we are, whether we're talking about the job, we're talking about a position, we're talking about a relationship, then we are truly not committed to that particular situation or that person in that moment. Now, I know people will argue with me, as they have in many situations of my coaching, that no, Mike, you don't understand. I really love this job. In the moment that you chose to spend your currency in a way that does not benefit you in that position, you were not committed to that job. And that's what my question around perfection comes in at. Is it possible for you to be perfect in the choices that you are making regarding that job or that relationship? That's the question that I have for you. Is it absolutely possible for you to be perfect in every one of those 86,400 seconds of today as it relates to that job, that position, or that relationship? So I want to hear from you as it relates to yes or no, why or why not you believe it is or is not possible. So please go ahead and hit your thumbs up button if you want to jump in here, because we want to hear from you as it relates to that question and hear your thoughts so that we can address specifically what some of you guys and girls are thinking here. So if you hit the thumbs up button, we want to chime you in here. So go ahead and do that now, please. Okay. How about Evelyn Eckhart? I see a hand there, or Evelyn Eckhart right here. So Evelyn, go ahead and talk to us. We just unmuted you. No, we didn't. Well, let's see. Okay, so we can't. Okay, there you are. Come on and speak to us, Evelyn.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm incredible.
Good.
How are you?
Great. First of all, I have to say that you got my attention when you started putting time equal to currency, right? If anyone, obviously, if you're on a budget, if you mind your money, but do you mind your time? And I got to say, I really love that. I just wrote it all over the place here in my office. But your question is, when you know, and I'm just reading the what's on the screen, when you know and understand the true value of time. I think for me in my job, I really do enjoy it, and I spend a lot of time. But then, are you aware of, or is the outcome always there? Like, are you focusing on that outcome? And I think that's what I really have to think about today is all the time spent, all the currency spent. Are you focused on the end result as well?
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen, for sharing with that. I guarantee you somebody benefited from that. So we want to hear from a couple of more folks here before we actually move on. So anybody else? How about Namutra? Yeah, that one. Okay, is that Namitra? Sira?
Like it's Namrata.
Namrata, I messed that up pretty good. So share with us your thoughts.
So I think just if I understood correctly, what you were asking was, whether we feel like we can be 100% perfect at something. And I've actually been thinking about this, and it kind of comes back to what you were saying about, contextualizing everything. And I feel like if our context is, we live in a very dynamic sort of environment, and if our environment is constantly changing, then that requires us to constantly be improving something that, we may not have been, I don't know, I guess we may not have encountered a certain something within that environment that just changed. So to me that, it requires constant vigilance and constant improvement. So it's kind of, I think, hard for anybody to say that we'd be perfect at something given how our environment and our context is constantly changing.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I guarantee you somebody benefited from that, and you gave me a little bit to work with there. Appreciate that. So I want to hear from just a couple more of y'all. So thumbs up for us, and we'd love to hear from you. I think Char up at the top there, Char Sparrow. So, so yeah, it's already unmuted. Hey, Char, can you hear me okay? Okay, no, she's not there. Okay, so let's see if we can find one more. How about Sean Abate? Come on down to the bottom right there. Right there. There you go. Okay, Sean, you're with us now, so if you'll share with us, will you please?
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm incredible, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm incredible too. Just sitting at work, watching your webinar. Real quick, I'll be attending your class on Thursday.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
I am looking forward to it. A little bit nervous about it, but I am definitely looking forward to it. Real quick, I like everybody's saying, I love my job too. I love the people I work with, and I love my wife also. Finding the time to devote myself to both parties equally is something difficult that I'm trying to work with. So I'm hoping that this class that we're going to attend is going to actually help me be a better person in both areas, for the people I work with and also for my wife.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Sean. That gives us a little bit to work with as well. So we look forward to seeing you on Thursday as well.
Awesome, Mike. Me too. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, thank you. All right, let me throw a couple of more logs on the fire. I love those folks that just participated. They gave us a little bit more to work with before we jump deeper into this. This is one thing I want you to really be aware of, is that when you are spending your currency on worrying about not having enough time to do things, I want you to be aware that the seconds that you are spending doing that is spending currency in a way that will never benefit you. So thank y'all for putting that out there, because I know somebody really is going to benefit from an understanding around that. Understand this. Every second that you are spending in a conversation about what you don't have or what you wish you had more of, or spending it in some kind of angst or fear, you are spending your currency in ways that will never benefit you, because the seconds that are ticking off of the clock from that 86,400 seconds that are available to you today are now being spent in a way that if you took that same currency and actually spent it on the job or in that position or in that relationship, will give you an opportunity to experience more of what you want from it, rather than the currency that you're spending on what you don't want from it or what you're not getting from it. I tell people all the time that I coach, when they are talking to me about the little time that they get to spend with their children, because of the commitment that they have to provide a specific lifestyle for themselves and their children. My coaching to them always is that it is truly not about the amount of time that you get to spend with those people in those relationships. What is really most important is how you are spending yourself in that time. So if you're not truly committed to making it is the most rich, the most special, the most positive time, then you are taking away from it as you are concerned or worrying about what you don't have or wishing that you had more. You do have more. You're spending it in such a way that it won't bring the return that you want in a positive way. And I want you to think about that for a second as we get into this particular webinar just a little deeper. So is it possible for me to be perfect in the context of this conversation? That is a question that is still on the floor. So let's find out how we ultimately get to an understanding around whether or not it is possible or if it is not possible. One thing I want you to know as we kind of tiptoe ourselves into this is that when you are investing your time, it is important to realize that this is not a dress rehearsal. Seconds that are now behind us will never, ever be available to us again in our lifetime. The ones that we have spent, they're gone. They will never, ever be available to us to spend in any way at all. The ones that are still available to us is the one that we're in right now, in this moment. And the choice that we are making in this moment is going to either positively or negatively affect the next moment. So what you think about all of the time and the way that you practice is the way that you are going to play at game time. And what I want you to know is how you're spending your currency right now is basically going to create behaviors that are ultimately going to become your habits. And once you develop those habits, they're going to be very invisible to you in the context of how you're now being in those relationships. So it's important for us to understand the real value of contextualizing. Now, let's talk about this for a second. If I set an outcome, I now contextualize my behaviors. I now contextualize my choices. And obviously, this is really important because it's up for the second time now, because I really want you to connect to this and the value of contextualizing yourself in every given moment. So if anybody was to ever walk into a room, into a situation and say, hey, Mike, why did you do that? Because of the context of my operations and my choices, based on the fact that I set an outcome, I know exactly why, when I am perfectly making the right choice, why I chose that versus something else. So it is no longer something that comes from an expectation or the paradigm. It has now been recontextualized based upon an outcome. Let me give you some examples. So if I was to set an outcome to have a purposeful, fulfilling career that I love to wake up to and a job that I love to go to every day, I have now contextualized good or bad choices. I have now contextualized positive or negative choices. I have now contextualized appropriate or inappropriate choices based on that outcome. Once I have set that outcome, I now know whether or not the choices that I am making will get me to that outcome or they will trend me away from that outcome. Now, I know for some of y'all, you're sitting there saying to yourself, there's a lot of things that can happen today that I have absolutely no control over. And that is absolutely the truth. However, no matter what happens today, the one thing that you do have control over is how you assess it or how you now choose to be with whatever just happened there. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So here's another outcome that contextualizes behavior. If my outcome was to be in the most amazing, the most supportive, the most intimate, and the most positive relationship ever, then now I just contextualize how I am going to choose to be with that person. It doesn't matter what they bring to the party. What matters is that I have set an outcome and I have now contextualized how I am choosing to be in the relationship. Now, it's always an extra win-win if you can gain agreement from them to be in that same relationship with you. However, whether you do or you do not, the way that you have now contextualized your behavior, your positive and negative choices, your appropriate and inappropriate choices, your good or bad choices is based upon the outcome that you just set. You have now contextualized what is good and what is bad. And one more I want to give you, because I just talked to somebody in some coaching yesterday about this, and then I wanted to bring this one up. This outcome is to be the most supportive, positive, and focused team member that I could ever be. Again, once I've set the outcome, I have now contextualized my behavior. Once I contextualize the behavior, I want you to be aware of something. If there are other people involved in this outcome, in order for you to be successful, you need to go to them and gain agreement from them that they are also willing to be inside of this outcome. You cannot have an expectation that just because you set the outcome that they're going to want to participate. You are not going to have a right to tell them that they need to, because this is the best way to do it. You're going to have to gain agreement from them that they also want to be a part of that outcome. And once you have gained agreement from them, both of you or all of you, however many of you are involved in that outcome, need to make a commitment to deliver based upon whatever the benefits that each of you will be receiving from getting to that outcome. Now, so let me just kind of reassess that. Once the outcome has been made, you need to clearly define what you mean by the most amazing, supportive, intimate, positive relationship. Because if you don't define it, then they may have their own interpretation of what that means. So to make sure that you're both on the same page, looking at the same picture, you need to make sure that you both are defining that outcome in the same manner. Once it has been defined, you've got to gain agreement that everyone is in this particular outcome and then make a commitment to it. Once the commitment has been made, my coaching to you is to audit the behaviors and the choices that you are making in every given moment, even if you do it for 1 hour of the day, just to make sure that you are trending to that particular outcome and that you are truly inside of this commitment in order to get those particular benefits. So here's an example of something. Now, I tell people a lot about what I would like to refer to as the Bonnie and Clyde theory. Everybody knows that Bonnie and Clyde were bank robbers. I mean, what they were passionate about was robbing banks. And for any of us to tell Bonnie and Clyde that was a wrong outcome for them to set would be inappropriate. Because as human beings, one of the greatest gifts that every last one of us has is the gift of choice. We can choose any outcome that we want, realizing that we're also choosing the consequences of that outcome, whether good or bad, in the context of the rules of the world. However, Bonnie and Clyde were passionate about what they did, and they were the best in the world at it. They did it very well. Now, it is not a choice that I would ever make for myself to set an outcome of robbing banks, potentially hurting people or being hurt. Not my outcome. However, I do not have a right to tell someone else that their outcome is good or bad, appropriate or inappropriate, or positive or negative. It may be that for me. However, they have a right to make that choice, and so do you. And no one else gets the opportunity to tell you that your choice is an inappropriate choice based upon their expectations of how you should behave. However, my coaching to you is that once you have set an outcome in your job and in your relationships, be 100% committed to it and spend 100% of your currency to get to that outcome, regardless of the circumstances or regardless of whatever things get in your way. Because quite often, as soon as some circumstances come up, the first thing that we do is we start using excuses. As soon as we start using excuses, then I can absolutely guarantee you in that moment, we are not committed to our outcome. And some of the excuses that we use when those circumstances show up is I'm not perfect. And I'm here to tell you in this present moment, in the context of this conversation, you are perfectly available to make the choice that will continually produce 100% delivery of your currency toward that outcome, because it's simply about the choices that you are making. So I want to give you an example. If I have made a commitment to give 100% of my currency to my position, if something comes up that would be distracting or take me away from that or not allow me to do what I said I was going to do, if I choose that, I was 100% in control of that choice. So in this moment, what I have available to me is an opportunity to be perfect in my choices to get to the outcomes that I say I want as it relates to the things that I have 100% control over. And I have 100% control over my choices. But every time we use an excuse, we are simply saying to ourselves and to others, I am not committed to that outcome in this present moment. So I know that I've probably got some of y'all thinking now, for sure, are really maybe awakened to something. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear a few of your thoughts in these few minutes that I have left. I got a lot more content that I really want to get in, but I want to hear from a few of you. So if you will, please go to the mood button and click the thumbs up. And so let's do something different since we have some thumbs up. Go to the My Mood button and push the hands up. I have a question, and then we'll know that we have some new people clicking in here. How about Anita Shadad calling in from North Carolina? Anita.
Hey, how are you?
I'm incredible.
So one of the things that I've found very, very useful for me is that at the end of every day, I spend about 45 minutes to an hour planning my next day, and I allocate time periods to tasks and outcomes of those tasks throughout the day. And I have found that if I really focus on getting those tasks done in that time and I don't allow other things to come in and distract me, that I get a lot more done in a day. And even as far as in my work environment, as you know, I have a boss that's very needy, so I've even worked with him on allocating him times throughout the day where I will do things for him, and I give him set amounts of times, and he knows in advance that he's got 15 minutes of my time at the top of every hour, so that he has to work in those times to get what he wants done. And at the end of that time, I go back to my timetable of doing what I need to get done. And I've also found it very useful that even in personal relationships that I have, distanced myself from people that are not giving me a healthy relationship and taking a lot of my time.
That's awesome.
Distracting me and getting me away from doing my things in my day. So, but the time I spend that night before is so valuable the next day.
That is awesome, and thank you, Anita. I guarantee you somebody benefited from that. When you can play the game at the level that Anita was just talking about, it is very, very easy for you to be able to audit your time. And I'm going to talk about that here just briefly in a moment. But here's something I want you to get, because this is a conversation that I just recently had with someone. If you are playing the game the way Anita just did, would it be appropriate for somebody to come in your office and stop down in your office to talk about their weekend and spend 30 minutes of your time talking about their weekend? My response to the person who asked me this just yesterday was, it is absolutely inappropriate if that is your outcome. Where their response was, I did not want to be rude. Now, if you are managing yourself by the expectations of the paradigm, then you would assess yourself as being rude by telling the person that I don't have time to listen to your information right now. Let's set a time after work or tomorrow during lunch that we can do it. Then that would be the appropriate choice based on your outcome. If you are sitting and you are listening to this for a half an hour and you're sitting there in angst and you want them to hurry up and finish and you don't want to be rude, when in the context of not giving them 100% of your currency and listening to them fully, you're still truly being rude, not only to them, but to yourself. Because in the context of this conversation, you have contextualized appropriate or inappropriate based on your outcome. And it would be negative for you to sit there and listen to them. It would be inappropriate, and it would be something that would not be the right thing to do. So if you're managing yourself based upon the paradigm in that context, then you could assess your behavior as being rude. If you're managing yourself in the context of your outcome, then the appropriate thing to do is to schedule a time with them or let them know that you'll get back with them later. And I put that out there because I hope that spurs some additional thoughts, because I want to hear from one or two of y'all before we finish this. I only have 9 minutes left and a whole lot of content, so y'all jump in here pretty quickly. So Chris Rose calling in from California. So Chris, can we unmute him? Okay, so Chris, we can't unmute you. If you'll hit *6, we'll see if we can get you in here.
All right, hello.
Hey, Chris.
Hi, Mike. Great to see you. Great to hear from you. Great call so far. Jumped on a little late. However, my feeling on what you're talking about right now is a couple of things and personal experiences I've been dealing with as of late. For me, it really boils down to personal responsibility and belief, believing in the commitment, believing in the outcome that you set forth. And I feel that a lot of situations that arise that I have experiences with is a lack of personal responsibility. People not agreeing. And I wrote down gain agreement. You told me that a few years ago in a class, and I focused on that. And I really do truly believe that gaining an agreement from somebody, an employee or a spouse or a child, is 100% necessary in order to move forward. I have heard the yeah, I'll do it, no problem. And things don't get done, creating frustration for everybody involved. So I appreciate you putting that out there for everybody. And to sum it up again, gaining the agreement, personal responsibility, and the belief and the commitment that you're working towards is key.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I guarantee you some benefit from that. So, and you know, one thing that I definitely want to say as it relates to the one-touch rule is in every second that we are having these thoughts, I would encourage you to utilize the one-touch rule. Be in the moment. If it is a thought that comes that you know will benefit you in the context of the outcome that you set, then take action now. There's no need to procrastinate about it. There is no need to let it marinate. There's no need to do anything, go pray about it. You know that it is the outcome that you've already set. You've done the praying already. You've done everything necessary that you need to do in order to move forward because you set the outcome. And you know, I like to tell a little story here about, you know, especially faith-based people who like to talk about, I want to go pray about it. It is a story about two guys that were standing on the bank of a river. The two of them had an outcome of swimming to the other side of this treacherous river. It was a fast current. The first guy came to the bank of the river, and he got down on his knees, and he prayed a fervent prayer to God about being with him and supporting him and helping him across this river. He dove in, got halfway across, and he drowned. The next guy came to the bank of the river. He came straight to the bank of the river in the moment, took action now, jumped in, swam across the river. All of the circumstances that he had to deal with, he dealt with them, and he safely made it to the other side. There were people on the other side that asked him, he said, well, the guy before you got down on his knees and prayed a fervent prayer to God about helping him get across to the other side, and he drowned. And you just jumped in and went to the other side. Why were you able to take on all of these situations and circumstances and be successful? Let me tell y'all what he said, and I hope y'all can hear me. He said, I prayed before I got here. So set an outcome before you get to the circumstances, before all of the chaos starts, before all of the things that could possibly go wrong start going wrong. Already be where you need to be and in a commitment to that outcome so that no matter what the circumstances are, you are already prayed up or prepared to move forward. So we're going to move on here because I got just a little time left. When we're talking about the one-touch rule, it has identified for you, once you set the outcome, what is appropriate and what is inappropriate. If it is appropriate now, take action now. If it is not appropriate, then utilize that thought to identify what the thing is that you need to be doing in order to move forward. Because the one thing that I really want you to know is that in order for you to determine what is appropriate and what is inappropriate is only knowing what one of those things are. Because once you've assessed one, they both exist. So let me say that again in case that was confusing. If I come across a thought that was inappropriate, in order for me to assess it as inappropriate, it means that I know what the appropriate choice is. For me to say that I don't know what to do or I don't know the appropriate choice, at that point is nothing more than an excuse. Because in order for me to assess one as appropriate or inappropriate, positive or negative, good or bad, I have to know what the other is. They both have to exist in the moment of my assessment of one or the other. So my question to you as we wrap this up is, how are you spending your time? The only way for you to know that is to take the time to audit every minute of your day. So the way to start that is that I would say for most of you, if I was coaching you one-on-one, is to take about 30 minutes of a few days after you set an outcome to audit how you spent your time so that you can truly begin to see how you're trending and the choices that you're making and how valuable it is to live life at this level. Understanding that those thoughts that you're having in this second are producing pictures, and those pictures are creating the emotion. Energy and action will follow that thought. So if it's appropriate, then it moves you to your outcome. If it's inappropriate, it will move you away from your outcome. And you absolutely need to be aware that what you think about all day long, and the choices that you are making are creating the behaviors that you are demonstrating in every given moment. So when we are truly focused on and committed to our outcomes, we become self-motivated. The vitality, the energy that we have. I mean, we don't need people to motivate us once we truly are committed to an outcome. Whether we're talking about at work or at home, once we're truly committed to that outcome and we know the benefits, those benefits have got to be meaningful enough for you that no matter what circumstance comes up, you will continue to move forward regardless of the circumstance. So I encourage you to make sure that your choices are in alignment with how you are spending your currency, because the way that you're spending that currency is going to bring a very specific return, and that return will never be something that you can change based upon the commitment and the choices that you're making. So think of all of the things that you will accomplish by committing to just do it and take action. And when I say just do it, the it has got to be identified. That is your outcome. So just doing it without having an outcome means that we are managing ourselves and others based upon the human universal paradigm of shoulds and should nots. So once we've identified the it is simply time to take action now. Time to spend our currency, realizing that it is a commodity that is going to bring a very specific return. And when it is gone, ladies and gentlemen, it is gone. It has been spent, and you can never, ever spend it or choose it again. So living a life, making the perfect choice in this moment to keep moving forward means to live a life without laziness or procrastination. Because the one thing that I want you to know, that if you are choosing laziness or procrastination, then you are choosing it in the moment. So you are still practicing being in the moment. However, the return that you are going to receive from practicing being in the moment by being lazy or procrastinating is nothing more than more laziness and procrastination. And I want you to know that procrastination is not a disease. It is a choice. So choosing to be in the moment and spend your currency in such a way that it will benefit you is exactly what I would encourage you to do. And I know that we're just about out of time, but I just want to hear from one or two people as it relates to the benefits that you have gotten from this. And we certainly will not be a time parasite. We're going to move on here. So just a couple of people, thumbs up real quickly, that would like to share with us a very quick, specific benefit that you received from this webinar. Very quickly. So just hands up. Yeah. Okay. Did he come back? Okay. Justin McBride, we're going to come back to you real quickly here because we want to kind of move on. So Justin, will you share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Just the fact that we have the choice to be perfect in our time. You know, when that poll question came up, I wasn't quite sure what that meant. And once we put some context around it, it really clarified for me that we can be perfect with the choices we make and the way we spend our time.
Thank you for that, man. I guarantee somebody benefited. So we're going to go to Joseph Musetti real quickly, coming off the East Coast up there in the New York area. Joe, why don't you share with us? Hey, Joseph? No, he's still mute, I think. Hey, Joseph, hit *6 for us and come in, please. Okay, so we don't have time for him. Let's move on to somebody else real quick. Let's see what you got. So let's do one more here. So yeah, just hit the I have a question button if you don't mind just coming in here and sharing with us. I want to hear from one more if y'all don't mind, please. You get one? Okay. How about Abby Martin? She's down one more right there. There you go. Let's click on her right there. Okay, and that one's not good either. Okay, so tell you what, let's just move on here. So before we close out, I just want everybody on the call to know that there's an opportunity for you to sign up today and today only for our Heart of the Samurai for 25% off. It's a buy one get one. So if you haven't attended that class, you do not have to be a graduate of any other class to attend that one. So you can call us today, and if you really want to learn more about managing your time and your thoughts, those of you that are on the phone that are members of the graduating class of the Game Changer program, that is a great way for you to truly connect to the benefits of learning how to utilize and spend that currency in a very positive way. Our next webinar, ladies and gentlemen, is on March the 17th, 2015, Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central. And it is entitled 5 Ways to Improve Every Relationship. And I can absolutely guarantee you that number 3 is my favorite and the absolute most effective. So I hope that you will be able to join us on March 17th, 2015 at 1 p.m. Central Time for 5 ways to improve every relationship that you're in. And I want to thank everybody for being here on the webinar. I truly hope that you benefited from the webinar, that you walked away with some awakenings or awarenesses that will help you to spend your currency in a positive way in everything that you're doing. And that is all of my contact information. For those of you that would love to get in contact with us, we love hearing from you. We absolutely wish you and your family a beautiful, prosperous holiday season, and we look forward to reconnecting with you sometime soon. Have an incredible day.